They used to laugh when I walked into school barefoot. They said I smelled like sweat, smoke, and hunger. Now, they whisper my name in hospitals, in halls of power, and in places they'll never be allowed to enter. But first, let me tell you what it cost to get here. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country in the comments and tell me what time it is right now where you are. Because where I'm from, time used to move slowly. Slower than hunger. Slower than shame. I grew up in Umozola, a village wrapped in dry wind and silence. We had no hospital, no electricity. Just whispers and the sound of worn sandals dragging across cracked red soil. My mother, Mama Neka, was the village healer. Not certified. Not respected. Just feared. And I was her son. The boy with no sandals. No books. No lunch money. No voice that mattered. That boy smells like yesterday's firewood, they'd say. Good boy. Bush boy. Even the teachers looked past me like I was invisible. I remember raising my hand in math class once. The teacher looked up, squinted, and said, "What's the use? Even if you get it right, who will hire you? Maybe as a mechanic's apprentice." The room burst into laughter. But I never forgot how it felt to disappear in plain sight. My mother was the only reason sick people stayed alive in that village. She boiled roots, crushed leaves, and whispered prayers over water. People came to her door in the dead of night, weeping, desperate. But they never said thank you. They just left. One day, the chief's wife came. Her son had a fever, couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. My mother took that fever out of him that night. Held his head to her chest and sweated the sickness out like it was her own blood. 3 days later, they didn't even greet her at the market. Just walked past. One evening, she was coming home late. Her basket is heavier than usual. She collapsed by the mango tree. I ran to her, screaming. Carried her to the clinic 3 villages away. They said we were too late. Said we had no money. Said they had no room. I buried her with my bare hands. That night, sitting beside her grave, I made a promise. I will not be nothing. I will not stay invisible. I will become something so powerful that the whole world will hear her name when they say mine. Have you ever felt a pull, like something was calling you? Like the very trees were trying to speak your name? Because that's what happened next. The forest started watching me. I stopped going to school. Stopped talking. Started waking up before dawn and walking into the trees behind the river. Everyone avoided that place. They said it was cursed, that those who entered had drums that weren't there. But something in there felt like home. One day, I sat beneath an ancient Iroko tree, and I swear I felt it breathe with me. You don't belong to them, a voice inside me said. You belong to something older. That's when I saw her. She appeared like smoke, bent, gray, skin wrinkled like bark. She didn't speak for a while. Just stared at me. Then she said, "So, the boy has come." I asked her name. You don't need it. What you need is unlearning. You want to heal? First, you must break. Come back tomorrow. And leave everything behind. And I did. I left behind the boy they laughed at and walked into the darkness to become something they could never mock again. Here's the real question: what would you do if the same people who mocked your pain needed you to save their lives? Forgive. Or walk away? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. She told me to come with nothing. No clothes. No food. No name. Even your grief is too heavy, she said. Leave it at the gate. We walked deep into the forest. Past the river of bones. Past the whispering stones. She led me to a clearing where everything stopped. No wind. No bird calls. Just stillness. This is where things are undone, she said. If you wish to be reborn, Obina, first you must die. She gave me an impossible task, to boil a bitter root without using fire. It cannot be done, I said. Good, she replied. You are finally honest. Now you may begin. For 3 days, I sat with that root. Stared at it. Prayed over it. Then I listened. I heard it say, I do not need flame. I need friction. So I crushed it with stone, added my own saliva, and let the heat of my determination do the rest. The old woman watched me walk in silence. You are beginning to understand. Healing is not magic. It is violence done gently. She made me fast for 9 days. No food. No water. No words. Each night I dreamed of my mother, but her face kept vanishing. On the 9th day, I screamed, why did she have to die? The forest replied, so you would become the answer no one believed in. I fell to my knees. That night, I heard the trees breathe and felt the roots speak. I was no longer just Obina. I was becoming something ancient. She began teaching me the old ways. How to grind snail shells with charcoal to treat fever. How to speak to water before using it. How to ask permission before plucking leaves. Every medicine must first pass through you, she said. You must suffer to understand. And I did. I inhaled smoke until I couldn't breathe. Drank teas that burned my throat raw. Carried stones until my hands bled. But with each lesson, I saw more. I could hear sickness hiding in people's breath, feel pain in their bones just by touching the earth they stepped on. One night, she handed me a blade. Every true healer must cut once with mercy. She pointed to her own arm. Take my blood. Mix it with the ash of your past. From that mixture, you will bet your real name. I wept as I did it. Carved her arm. Mixed her blood with charcoal and tears. Marked my chest with it. In that moment, I felt my mother's voice, not from the sky, but from within. You're not healing them, my son. You're healing me. Part 3, The Return. I walked back into Umozola after 5 years. Same cracked earth. Same crooked trees. But this time, I walked differently. They didn't recognize me at first. I was taller now, my skin darker from the sun, my chest marked with sacred ash. I wore my mother's pendant and carried silence like armor. As I passed the marketplace, whispers followed. Is that? No, can't be. The broken boy died. Then why does he walk like a king? I knocked on the village chief's compound. Who are you? He asked with narrowed eyes. Obina, I said softly. Mama Neko's son. Oh. The boy who ran into the forest. You returned to sell roots. I held up my satchel, heavy with medicine and truth. No. I came to warn you. There's sickness on the wind. It's coming fast. And this time, prayer and pride won't save you. He laughed. You disappeared, and now you think you're a prophet. We have real doctors. Real men of God. He shut the door in my face. But behind that door, his daughter had already begun coughing. It started with a fever. Then body pain. Then madness. They thought it was malaria, then a curse, then blamed me. Maybe the bush boy brought this upon us, they whispered. He walks with shadows. I said nothing. I watched as the clinic filled, as the pastor wept in tongues, as the chief's wife fell to her knees in the dirt. Then I waited outside his gate until desperation forced him to open it. You came, he said, barely able to meet my eyes. Yes, I replied. But I didn't come for you. Have you ever dreamed of this moment? When the same people who mocked your silence are begging for your voice. All I said was, bring me the children first. I started with the young ones. Their bodies still soft, their spirits still reachable. I bathed them in bitter leaf water, broke fermented cola into ash, and whispered to their foreheads the way my mother once did. They healed. Soon, my compound overflowed with prayers. But this time, they prayed to stay alive, not to be right. Even the teacher who once mocked me came. Obina, please. I held the cup to his lips. I didn't need to speak. His shame did the talking for him. The chief returned. We wish to make you our official healer. Name a center after you. I looked at him. You had everything when my mother needed just one word of kindness. He bowed. We were wrong. You still are, I said. Because I didn't return to power. I came for balance. Let your sons clean the roads. Let your daughters learn to grind herbs. Let the next broke boy walk in with pride. That would be my revenge. Word of my healing spread beyond the village. Radio shows told my story. Reporters arrived. Government convoys pulled up with gifts. Then came the NGOs, missionaries, and camera crews. We want to build your practice, they said. Sponsor you. Take you to America. Put your gift on television. I looked at their cameras, expensive shoes, and printed smiles. Would you have come when I was barefoot? No one answered. They offered me labs, offices, and private jets. Sign here, they said. Let us license your method. License my mother's whispers. The ash on my chest. The pain in my stomach when we had no food. I refused. Then the headlines turned, Village boy rejects medical help, traditional myths blocking scientific progress, is Obina a fraud? Someone I trusted, Chinoza, a girl who once mocked me but became my assistant, had been secretly recording my sessions, selling them to pharmaceutical companies. I found out when I saw one of my mother's remedies on a billboard. Marketed. Rebranded. Stripped of its roots. We are helping more people, she said. You're helping yourself, I replied. You're selling my grief. They didn't want to understand me. They wanted to own me. So I gathered all their papers, all their deals, press releases, signatures, and burned them beneath the same tree my mother used to sit under. The ashes rose, and I whispered. I am not your product. I am my mother's son. They tried to bury my name. Headlines claiming my treatment caused hallucinations and death went viral. My enemies weren't strangers anymore. They were old classmates, past clients, people who'd once begged for my help, now taking payments to forget the truth. I refused to fight them in court. Refused interviews. Refused to argue with liars. Instead, I healed. Day after day. Night after night. Freely. Quietly. When one of my accusers, the pastor's son, collapsed in front of my gate, I didn't slam the door. I carried him inside and whispered the same words my mother once whispered to me. He woke up. And that story spread faster than the smears. Then came an invitation from my old school for Alumni Week. They wanted me to speak. At first, I laughed. Then I cried. Then I went. I wore the same type of slippers they once mocked, the same pendant my mother wore, and stood before a hall filled with uniforms and smartphones. I looked the headmaster in the eye. Thank you, I said. For what? He asked, confused. For never believing in me. Because now I don't need anyone's permission to become whole. I ended my speech with a walk, leading the students barefoot across the same dusty road I used to walk in silence. Each step was a memory. Each grain of red soil was a scar. I knelt beside the old Iroko tree where I used to cry after class, dug into the earth, and placed my pendant inside. Then I stood, faced the crowd, and said, "This isn't where I was buried. This is where I was planted." The wind blew, and not a single voice dared to laugh. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the places where your name was once dead. If your pain had power, what would you build with it? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear what your scars have taught you. One day, they'll say your name too.